How could an America who could morally, spiritually, and biblically justify the kidnapping, raping, and pillaging of another two people, natives already in America and Africans brought to America, and perhaps had God not sent us to America, America might have self-destructed by now. That's how insane the social construct of racism is, and white superiority. That's how insane. This is an insane. Do you understand that this is an insane concept? The most egregious concept of slavery, because Africans were familiar with slavery, but you were indentured, you were enslaved to work on a pyramid, but then you went home. No. They took it to a whole new level. No, not only are you enslaved, but when you have children, they will be enslaved. And when they have children, they will be enslaved. And you will be enslaved, your whole family, for, about 250 years until it's illegal. That had never been created before. So the concept of racism and the most egregious form of slavery is simple insanity. How another human being can come up with something like that and sustain it for centuries is a clear sign of insanity. I want you to write this down. I want you to go on YouTube today or tomorrow, and I want you to search Toni Morrison and Charlie Rose. How many of you know who Charlie Rose is? One of the best interviewers on PBS. Toni Morrison and Charlie Rose interview.
People say Americans are so obsessed with race. People say Americans can't do anything without something racial. Like it is part and parcel of people's life. And it is true. Why? Because the United States was formed on the basis of race. Now when you ask a question, nothing can ever go on without bringing up the question of racism in America. In short, another definition of America is country with race of races. And this means that people have their own expectation of societal things, historical things, cultural things, and things that has ever happened. Amongst the marginalized group that I'm here to talk about today, most definitely black people being played in the subject and white people as their counterparts. Somebody would like to ask this question: what is it really great in racism? What is it really great to feel like you're greater than other person? What is it really great to make a feeling a person works for you for 500,000 years without even you paying them? This video is going to be featuring two black American professors. One is Dr. FRASER. Two is Toni Morrison. They are going to give a speech that will make you understand, that will explain why it is so hard for white people to do without being racist, right? And they are trying to make it understand, and they don't want you to talk about this because it's important. And when you talk about the United States, you're talking about race and racism, those two things. Now, the first video is about Dr. FRASER. Dr. FRASER is going to refer to Toni Morrison, a speech in an interview of Charlie Rose that happened some moments ago. I don't know if Toni Morrison, she's still alive until today, and if she's not, may her soul rest in peace. And if she's still alive, I hope that she's great wherever she is. Now, I want us to dive right into this video. This video is so really revealing. It's so important, and I want us to learn from the video. Until then, I'll be back. Let's watch the video and have a proper discussion in regards to this. I'll be back. If you're watching this video for the first time, I'll most definitely ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. But until then, let's dive right into the video. I'll be back.
How could an America who could morally, spiritually, and biblically justify the kidnapping, raping, and pillaging of another two people, natives already in America and Africans brought to America, and perhaps had God not sent us to America, America might have self-destructed by now. That's how insane the social construct of racism is and white superiority. That's how insane. This is an insane. Do you understand that this is an insane concept? The most egregious concept of slavery, because Africans were familiar with slavery, but you were indentured, you were enslaved to work on a pyramid, but then you went home. No, 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 no. They took it to a whole new level. No, not only are you enslaved, but when you have children, they will be enslaved. And when they have children, they will be enslaved. And you will be enslaved, your whole family, for, about 250 years until it's illegal. That had never been created before. So the concept of racism and the most egregious form of slavery is simple insanity. How another human being can come up with something like that and sustain it for centuries is a clear sign of insanity. I want you to write this down. I want you to go on YouTube today or tomorrow, and I want you to search Toni Morrison and Charlie Rose. How many of you know who Charlie Rose is? One of the best interviewers on PBS. Toni Morrison and Charlie Rose interview. Charlie Rose asked Toni Morrison, what did she think about racism? Toni Morrison, one of the most brilliant minds on the planet, not just black, Nobel laureate, Pulitzer Prize winning Toni Morrison, looked at Charlie with the seriousness of a heart attack and said, that is the wrong question, Charlie. The question is, what do you think about racism? Charlie Rose is white. She said, because racism feels insane to me. And it is insane. So my advice to you, Charlie, is that white people get therapy. That's what she told Charlie Rose on public television. Y'all need to get therapy. I don't know why more of America isn't talking about this. And leave black people alone and not let your insanity drive us insane. Because that's what you're trying to do. And they have done a very good job. So I have come to the conclusion as a 70-year-old black man living in America, we cannot fix white people. We haven't been able to fix them in 400 years. We cannot fix them. White people must fix white people. This is what Toni Morrison said. Y'all got to fix yourself. We can't fix you. We have failed. You got to fix you. But we can fix ourselves. That's the most important thing. We can undo over time some of the damage done to us by their insanity. And we are damaged goods. I don't have to explain that to you, right? Just look at our behavior. So we are damaged goods, and we need to work on us. We can fix us. In fact, white folks are not going to fix us. You understand that? They haven't in 400 years. Who are white folks going to fix? White folks. Asians are going to fix Asians. East Indians are working on East Indians. They ain't working on you, right? Arabs are working on Arabs. Our Jewish brothers and sisters are working on their issues and their people. That's who they should be working on. So they're not going to fix us. I have a good white friend who said to me, George, I know what black people's problem is. I said, oh, really, Bob? What is black people's problem? He said, you spend all of your time thinking about us, and we don't spend any of our time thinking about you. So, George, if you're not thinking about you, and we damn sure ain't thinking about you, who's thinking about you? I had to do the Holy Ghost dance. I had no comeback. I had no comeback. So that's right. So we have to spend our time working on us. And there is much work to do, right? So we'll put a pin in that thought. Look at a very, very short video that speaks powerfully to one of the reasons you must be at the Power Networking Conference in your own backyard. It is a concept that I've been working on for 30 years. And now I don't know if you know, but I'm the brother that came up with the term connect the dots. Right? I've been saying that for almost 30 years. It's now a very, very popular phrase, but if you read any of my books, the first one to say that, the first one to put that together. So I think Cassandra is going to start this piece, and let me frame it up for you. Just hold on one second, Cassandra. This was a piece I did 8 years ago at Eddie Long's church in Atlanta during the State of Black America with Tavis Smiley. How many of you remember those big all-day programs, the State of Black America? And I was called upon to be on the stage with the likes of Minister Farrakhan, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Cornel West, Michael Eric Dyson, the who's who of Black intelligentsia. And I talked about my concept of connecting the dots. And someone found this on YouTube because Tavis videotaped it, excerpted the soundtrack from the piece, and then put together a little drawing that illustrated this idea of connecting the dots.
Warriors, I think, once asked you the question, can you imagine writing a novel that's not centered about race? And you said, absolutely.
Yes.
Will you?
That's what he asked me. I think, see, I answered the question he didn't pose. You know, Tolstoy writes about race.
Yeah.
All the time. So does Zola, so does James Joyce. Now, if anybody can go up to an imaginary James Joyce and say, you write about race all the time. It's central in your novels. When are you going to write about what? Because you see, the person who asks that question doesn't understand that he or she is also raced. So to ask me when am I going to stop, if I can, is to ask a question that, in a sense, is its own answer. Yes, I can write about white people. White people can write about black people. Anything can happen in art. There are no boundaries there. Having to do it or having to prove that I can do it is what was embarrassing or insulting. In this book, I did.
It was insulting that people, help me understand, what was insulting? The idea that you felt like you had to prove that you could write without...
the question was posed as though it were a desirable thing to do.
Right.
To write about white people or to write not about race. That's what that means to me. And that it was a difficult thing to do, a higher level of artistic endeavor, or it was more important, and that I was still writing about marginal people, and why don't I come into the mainstream?
Aren't you importing too much into the question?
Maybe.
I think so.
Well, what else could it be, Charlie? What does that mean? What does that question mean? You tell me if I'm making too much.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I don't think it probably means, I didn't ask the question, so I don't think it probably means, but I don't think it had to do about you were marginalizing by not writing about.
It only works if I can go to William Styron, well, maybe not William Styron because he has done it, somebody, major, white, and say, as a journalist.
Can you write about black people?
That's right. Can I say that? What kind of question is that to put to Ed Doctorow, who has done it, by the way?
Sure.
But I mean, if I can say, when are you going to write about black people to a white writer, if that's a legitimate question to a white writer, then it is a legitimate question to me. I just don't think it is. You know, so the glove has to be pulled inside out. If it's in other words, it's not a literary question. It has nothing to do with the literary imagination. It's a sociological question that should not be put to me. I couldn't ask that of any writer who was, I wouldn't ask it of a black writer when you're going to write about white people. Now, maybe I'm wrong. You can tell me now or later if I've blown it up all out of proportion. I don't think so. I just don't know what the question means except what I think it means. You think it may just be a little question, a little curious, small incidental question. When are you going to... Maybe I'm responding because I have had reviews in the past that have accused me of not writing about white people. I remember a review of Sula in which the reviewer said, this is all well and good, but one day she, meaning me, will have to face up to the real responsibilities and get mature and write about the real confrontation for black people, which is white people. As though our lives have no meaning and no depth without the white gaze. And I've spent my entire writing life trying to make sure that the white gaze was not the dominant one in any of my books. And the people who helped me most arrive at that kind of language were African writers. Chinua Achebe, Bessie Head. Those writers who could assume the centrality of their race because they were Africans. And they didn't explain anything to white people. Those questions were incomprehensible to them. Those questions that I would have as a minority living in an all-white country like the United States. But when I read the poetry of César, or the poetry of Senghor, or the novels particularly, Things Fall Apart was more important to me than anything. Only because there was a language, there was a posture, there were the parameters. I could step in now, and I didn't have to be consumed by or be concerned by the white gaze. That was the liberation for me. It has nothing to do with who reads the books. Everyone, I hope, of any race, any gender, any country. But my sovereignty and my authority as a racialized person had to be struck immediately with the very first book. And it was strange because in this country, many books, particularly then, 40s, 50s, you could feel the address of the narrator over my shoulder, talking to somebody else, talking to somebody white. I could tell because they're explaining things that they didn't have to explain if they were talking to me. It was that. So it's profound for me. So that you may be right, maybe I'm over-dramatizing the whole question, which was innocent enough because the problem of being free to write the way you wish to without this other racialized gaze is a serious one for an African-American writer. Very serious.
I think this is one of those times where what you just said, you gave and ennobled an answer regardless of the significance
well, that's good.
of the question.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Amongst the most questions that people ask themselves is, why is it that America cannot do without race and racism? Because it forms part and parcel of their culture. If you look through the history, the pillage that these people have done towards black people has been written and it's there. It's still like it never happened. The same something is still continuing. And people are asking themselves, why is it that? Why is it so hard? And I'm so proud that we have black scholars that are talking about this insanity. Imagine if Toni Morrison could say that it is so much easier to stay with HIV and AIDS than to understand or to be or to stay with racism. This is one hell of an insanity that is going on towards some people who are indoctrinated to feel, to think, to believe, to cherish, to be proud of these acts. And they think that they are great at the back of their mind. They think that it is right to do this, right? And the system of the United States is embedded in these type of societal activities, of societal behavior. You are being considered great, or you are being considered of the highest hierarchy, depending on your color, depending on your sex, depending on who you're married to, right? And so these discussions are so important. When I try to reflect what Dr. Toni Morrison talked about, it is really, really important. And in the interview, she is so much speculative about what she's talking about. And I don't know the future of the United States with this type of life, because you're told that America is a meritocratic country. Maybe, but really it is not, because when you have a system that is embedded, that has put racism as one of the things that it's banking on, one of the things that it is financing them, right? It can never be easy for the United States to dismantle these systems. And so it takes scholars, it takes people to come and talk to people. So as I was saying, it takes time to dismantle these systems that are put, right? They are put to make you believe. And it is crazy how the indoctrination starts from a person when they are a kid. So when they are growing up, they believe that that's the most definitely way to do things. That's the best way to believe in what they believe in. And so it is always important to have scholars that are always trying to bring forth the truth to people. And the speeches, they were so powerful. They were so powerful. And I'm glad for the people that take accountability. I think it's time for, and I applaud some white folks for this, because they're taking accountability for the things that happened. And they're agreeing that in as much as they currently didn't play part in this, but they recognize how sad it is. Right, people recognizing, taking accountability. And this reminds me of my Asian literature teacher. My Asian literature teacher, actually, she's a Korean. She usually says that in their classes, they were told that if history could pay people, the people that needed to be paid is black people. Because in all human race, black people all over the world, we're talking about these people coming to Africa, spreading this insanity that Dr. FRASER was talking about, spreading the insanity of making Africans sell other Africans and put them back to the United States, right? The insanity that these people came to enslave black people who are also in the United States. So this explains and this shows you that these people recognize this thing, because I have an Asian literature teacher that taught us and told us that they were also taught that if there's people that history needs to pay, it is black people. And so I feel like it's important for us to discuss this. It is really, really important that we need to have this discussion, and also bring forth those people that are well endowed with the skills, with the knowledge, to make us understand how we can move forward as a community, how we can find a way to dismantle the systems that, are keeping black people from, the growth that they have, and generally everything that is going on. So with that being said, I feel like it's important for us to have a great discussion in regards to this. And I appreciate that we have people that are always out there to always come and talk about this. I don't know what you think about this video, but I'll most definitely want to know how you feel about this. As you know, these are presented Genetic Stories, and I'm hoping to see you in my next video. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.